Welcome to the latest installment of the Oro Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And you may notice tonight we've got on a little different attire, some better looking than others. But nonetheless, we expected some trash talk tonight. Jeremy McKenzie joining me on the first segment here. And I know we've got the NFL gear on tonight. You a Panthers fan, me a Redskins fan. We're going to get into that later in the show. But first, a lot of football to talk about. And so we're going to start at the lowest level. Of course, Richmond Raider football got back into the win column this past Friday, 28-0 over Pine Forest. Now, you and I both watched this game, and it seemed like Richmond was kind of sluggish jumping out of the gate, were they not?
Yes, they was. And I looked from the clips I had saw on Raider Football Network. I seen where the defense was a little sluggish, what not have you, and they made it to a competitive game. But it seems like after halftime, wherever Coach Till told his guys, it's pretty much the gas just went running and they just ran away with the win.
That's exactly what happened. Matter of fact, it was the first half was, quite frankly, it was kind of boring, and nobody seemed to be able to get the ball pretty much past the 50, and it was a lot of stalling out, a lot of 3 and outs, punts, that sort of thing. But one thing I did notice, and as you mentioned, they hit the gas. The Raiders' offense, they only got 247 total yards in the game, which is a season low. Now, I know we're only 3 games into the season. That's not necessarily a bad sign. But the defense, Raider defense held Pine Forest to 96 total yards, its lowest since 2016. So how did the defense impress you?
The defense impressed me real well. I think that was the best defense I had seen play since the season has started, and that should give the Raiders some momentum going through the season, even with conference play. Even if they continue to play they play, that could speak volumes throughout across the state, and opposing teams will come to their house like, hey, Raiders got defense, so we got to change up our gameplay. So in other words, like, I'm proud of the defense for stepping up in this game and get the win.
Yeah, absolutely. The defense, 65 rushing yards. They held Pine Forest to only 31 passing yards. So that's pretty impressive.
Yes.
But with that being said, how important was it for the Raiders to get another notch under their belt after losing to number 1 Wake Forest last week?
I think coming in when they lost to Wake Forest on last week, and then for coming in winning Pine Forest, I think that was a wake up call for the Raiders. Even that should give them some kind of motivation to win. And even they came out of frustration and emotion and pretty much took their anger out on Pine Forest because they looked at it from a standpoint, we're the Richmond Raiders. Like, we got to do what we need to do in order to stack up wins. And the thing about it was just they had all that aggressiveness and the defense just pretty much took over from both sides from offense to defense to special teams. So I just say, hey, congratulations for the win on the Raiders for what they did.
Yeah, and this was actually their first shutout since September 16th, 2 years ago in 2016. Mm-hmm. So, that's quite a few games to go without shutting someone out. So, obviously, the defense was stepping up in this game. Looking on the other side of the ball, Osiris Ellerby, one of the top running backs, was out with a hip injury. Didn't really seem to matter. They didn't really skip a beat once they got going in the second half. Who impressed you on the offensive side?
I think Jaheim Covington, who had a monstrous game, rushed over 130-something yards and go with his 2 touchdowns. And even with Caleb Hood, did pretty well passing the ball. The offense did click. Proud of the offensive line for opening up those holes for Jaheim to break out those yardage where he did. And I was very proud of what the offense done.
Yeah, quarterback Caleb Hood, he still, even though he didn't have a ton of passing yards, he was still able to spread it out a lot. And I know we've seen a lot of that so far this year from him, which is improvement. And I think in the long run, being able to spread it out and get it to several different playmakers throughout the year is going to pay dividends. So we got the win over Pine Forest this last week, so let's start looking forward towards Butler this week, tomorrow night. So it seems like Butler and Richmond kind of have a rivalry now. Haven't we been playing each other for quite a few years?
Yes, it's been quite a while, and every time I see what Richmond does play Butler, it's kind of like you pretty much just play like you playing like the Super Bowl, Super Bowl of high school. You take 2 perennial teams going at it, and they respect the areas. And every time that you see Richmond Butler, you're going to expect a good game out of it. One wins, Richmond beat Butler, vice versa.
Yeah, and you're right, and that's why I say it's almost like a rivalry game where you can kind of, no matter what the records are, you can throw those out. Yeah. A lot's gonna matter where it's at. Of course, it's at Butler tomorrow night. So if you're thinking about going, you might want to leave a little bit early because you're going to get through that Charlotte traffic. But Dion couldn't be here tonight, but fortunately he did send us a bunch of stats, and Dion's got the crazy stats here. So Butler actually leads the overall series against Richmond 7-3. Didn't realize there was that much of a discrepancy there. They're actually the only school that Richmond has a losing record against teams that they've played at least 10 times. So that shows you how dominant Richmond's been for the last 45 years. But Butler has outscored Richmond 337 points to 276. So Richmond's going to need to crank it up this Friday if they want to get a little bit closer to even, right?
Yes.
And then one other quick thing. There's a kid by the name of Keon Lassane. He's a senior, running back for, a wide receiver for them. He's actually already committed to NC State, so that's a player that Richmond's going to have to look out for. Against Scotland, he had 2 receptions for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed 6 times for 60 yards. So I imagine that's the kind of guys you want to step up in a big-time game like this. So that's some stats from Dion letting us know that we need to look out for that guy. And then one other quick one here. Quarterback Christian Peters, who's also a senior. So that's a big, we're talking about Caleb being a sophomore, and that doesn't seem to affect him as much. But having a senior quarterback obviously helps. He's completed 12 of 16 passes for 226 yards and 3 touchdowns against Scotland. So I guess the question is, do you expect us to go into Butler and beat them?
Be honest with you, if they do what they were supposed to do against Power Fours, they have a shot being at Butler.
The way I look at it is, I know when we all got together and started looking at Richmond's schedule when it came out, I think I remember saying that they would lose to either Wake Forest or Butler, but not both. So they've already lost to Wake Forest. So I'm hoping, and I'm going to call that they're going to go into Butler and pick up a victory tomorrow night. And
I believe so too, because if for whoever who covers the NC State commit, that corner has to be pretty much the corner from Richmond has to step up and try to at least be aggressive and not be too aggressive where a lot of penalties will be called and they'll take advantage of the yardage. And the quarterback, the defense, there's a lot of things you have to do in order for Butler to stay afloat. Defense gonna have to pretty much keep this quarterback at home and not try to make so many plays on his feet or with his arm to try at least make the problem for him to throw to his star wide receiver.
And Butler last year relied pretty heavily on the running game actually when they played us. Peters, their quarterback, who I just mentioned, was only 4 for 8 for 80 yards against us. So, maybe this kid from it's going to NC State, maybe he makes a difference on the outside as a receiver. It sounds like the path that Till's going to take with his defense is perhaps stack the box, stop the running game, make that one kid beat you. Maybe that's a scenario.
Yeah,
that
the 3-4 defense. You look at a 3-4 defense. You got to look at your 3D line and your 4 linebackers. And I think this is going to be where a scenario where Coach still got to get his defensive guys together. Hey, be aggressive on the football. Do not let up. Stay in the make plays at the line of scrimmage and don't be over aggressive where you're going to end up making a lot of stupid mistakes and get yourself penalties where Butler could take advantage of a lot of those and get touchdowns in the midst of it.
Absolutely. So I think we're both obviously hoping for a Raider victory. It's going to be a tough one because it's an out-of-conference opponent, but it might as well be a conference opponent because we, as I mentioned earlier, we see them so often.
Yes.
So a familiar foe, nonetheless, still a really good team in Butler High School. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to it. Now, Butler's straight up 74. It's maybe an hour and a half, so it's not as far as maybe you think.
In Matthews.
Yeah, and it's on this side of Charlotte, so you don't necessarily have to get into that traffic.
Also, for the news, if you're going to leave to go to the game on tomorrow night, best for you to leave at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, because the game starts at 7, so... Like we mentioned, Richmond Senior High School hitting the road again. Going to try to go 4-1 overall. And however, if they lose, they'll be back to 500 at 2-2 going into conference play. So it could make a difference this game. Could be a turning point one way or the other for the season. So that's going to do it for your Richmond Raider Talk. Of course, this time next week, we'll be taking a look back at the Butler game, see how they did. Hopefully pulled out a W. When we return from the break, we're going to be talking college football, taking a look at our old picks from last week, new picks for this week, and who we think the top performer was from week 1. All that and more when we come back to the RO Sports Show.
At Richmond Community College, we can prepare you for a high-skill, high-paying career in a variety of fields. From business to education, engineering, utilities, healthcare, criminal justice, information technology, and human services. At Richmond Community College, we can save you thousands of dollars on tuition through our university transfer programs that provide a seamless transition to universities and colleges throughout North Carolina. At Richmond Community College, we are always developing new courses and programs in response to the communities we serve. We offer day, evening, and online courses, and you can now complete 5 curriculum programs entirely online. At Richmond Community College, we believe in helping you prepare for a better life. Richmond Community College. Local college, big impact.
McNair Auto Sales is the place to buy your pre-owned car, truck, or van. To be the best, it takes big selection, friendly staff, and great pricing. We guarantee a no-hassle buying experience, and financing is available right on site. So come see us today. We're located at 1026 East Broad Avenue in Rockingham. And remember, with over 40 years of experience, you know McNair is the name you can trust.
And welcome back to the All Road Sports Show, as always, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And we've been joined by another Redskin fan, Russell Parker, here on the other end. So you're outnumbered now, Jeremy.
Y'all dead skis. We'll see y'all in October.
Yeah, when we get that W.
Yeah.
But again, we'll save that trash talk until the next segment. So we started with high school football. We're moving up a level, going to the NCAA. Of course, we are done with week 1. A lot of big games that we took prediction shots at. We got some of them right, some of them wrong. So let's go
Somebody
over.
winning.
Yeah. All right. All right. We'll just start there. So Russell's ahead, 6-5-3.
Yeah.
So not that big of a jump. So, but let's start talking about the big games from last week. Now, the first one we mentioned was Michigan at Notre Dame, and if I do remember correctly, both of y'all took Michigan, and I took Notre Dame. And how did that one turn out?
Well, of course, you do get one right every once in a while, and
A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was the fact that they were in Notre Dame. I think is what it was. Notre Dame is a crazy place to be at.
Yeah.
I've seen some game day footage, but before the game started, of these guys all running through this pool of water, acting crazy. So I mean, when you go down to something like that, it's going to overwhelm you. So I think maybe Michigan might got a little overwhelmed by that.
Jimmy, let me ask you this. Harbaugh, we talked last week. This was a big game for him, even though it's not in conference. Obviously, it's going to hurt their chances to get into the playoff. Is this the beginning of the end of Harbaugh like we were talking about last week?
I believe it is because you did not pick up this win against Notre Dame. I think this is going to speak volumes.
Y'all think Michigan's season's already over? Or do you think they still got a chance?
No, they still got
plenty of chances.
Yeah, plenty of
to come
chance.
back.
I mean, so many good teams in the Big Ten alone, the Big Ten East. I think they'll be fine to get back in. Although I do think they needed that win more than Notre Dame. But moving on, one that let's see who got this one right. You guys did.
Yeah, we got this
Washington
one
and
right.
Auburn. Of course, this one was played in the Pac-12, or excuse me, rather the SEC's backyard in Atlanta. Now, talking about seasons being over, I kept saying that Washington needed to win this or they would be done already, and they lost it. So, anything strike you from this game?
Well, I knew this was going to happen. Okay, Auburn unfortunately won this game. I predicted that to happen though, but Washington's going to come back and win every single game this season. They're going to be fine. This was a big game for them, but moving forward, I think they're going to continue on and win out the rest of the season. Auburn's going to drop 2 losses this season. They're going to keep them out of playoffs. So I think Washington still has a chance for even that.
What do you think? The Huskies still in it?
They have a chance.
Yeah, and I think because they're in the Pac-12, they're still. We're going to take a look at the top 25 here in a minute. They're the top one loss team, so they still will be able to have a shot to get in there. Up next would be LSU and Miami. This one was Sunday night, right?
Yeah, that one there got heated up.
It did. It got very heated before the game as well as during the game, and I tried to tell you guys Miami's overrated.
Yeah, I'm going to have to change my tune now. They're no longer in the playoffs for them, because I think Clemson might be taking that spot.
Yeah,
You heard it here first.
Yeah, what do you think about Miami? Did they drop the ball, or is LSU just that good?
I look at LSU. LSU, we just kind of pretty much underestimated their spirit in that game. And, I mean, they came out and just pretty much just trashed you.
Yeah.
Since Les Miles, I didn't expect them to do very well, because Les Miles was the best coach they had since then. And so
Nick Saban.
I wasn't expecting them to have this, this good of a game to start off the season. Will it continue on throughout the season? Because they were playing in Death Valley, so that could have given them a huge advantage there. So
Sure.
how it goes from here on out, I'm not so sure on that. I have to watch them a couple more weeks.
And the quarterback that they have, I think his name's Joe Burrow. He's a transfer from Ohio State, so he's obviously a decent, at the very least, quarterback. And then we found out that kid that ended up being the number one running back. He had at least 2 touchdowns that I remember for LSU. So I think they're going to be formidable in the SEC. Do you think LSU is going to stick around?
I think that they'll continue to give a lot of the SEC teams a run for their money. Even Alabama, they always do. I'm not sure where they're playing them at this season, but I think LSU can always be a threat to every team this season.
Yeah, I think so too. Moving on, another SEC team, Tennessee, was facing West Virginia this week. And I know that I took West Virginia.
I took Tennessee.
You took Tennessee. Russell, you also took West Virginia, right?
Yep,
Of course,
I did.
West Virginia got the W in that one. So West Virginia's offense impress you?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. Tennessee just dropped the ball.
Yeah, they didn't look too good, and I don't see Tennessee doing that well this year.
It doesn't surprise me. Every single year, they always get this big hype around them, and all of a sudden, it's just flat.
It seems like it's every year. And then Monday night's game, Virginia Tech and Florida State. Now, we've been talking about how this one could have implications for the ACC perhaps later down the road as we get closer to the playoff. But all 3 of us took the Seminoles at home, and this game wasn't even close. The Hokies took the W.
After that first touchdown, that whole place got quiet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me in a way. I think this is FSU hurting from firing Jimbo Fisher. I think they fired him too fast, or he left too quick, or whatever happened with him too. But I think if Fisher was still there, they could have won this one.
What do you think? I mean, is this a matter of Virginia Tech's gotten better under a new coach, or Florida State's gotten worse with a new coach?
I think Florida State just got worse, and that's one. And you take the Florida State reputation, always been good in football, and always had a hold of standard. But whoever the coach down there is, I don't see him staying down there very long.
All right. And then, of course, we're going to do what's called Locked In, our 100% locks of the week, our upset alerts. Just run through these real quick. So for my Locked In, I had Clemson over Furman. That one was over right after they flipped the coin. Let's see. You had Georgia over Austin Peay. Georgia took care of business there. And you had Bama over Louisville. I thought maybe that one might be close for a little bit.
You really thought that?
It was over very quickly.
Very quick.
And then upsets. Russell, you were the only one that got the upset right.
Yeah.
BYU over Arizona.
I mean, there was a Heisman hopeful down there in Arizona, and that's where I believe that was the upset from. So BYU coming into Arizona, and pretty much, I believe the coach for Arizona is Kevin Sumlin, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought that was pretty big news for Arizona to have them. So BYU beating them I thought that was going to be an upset.
And just to save face for you and I, Jeremy, you had James Madison over NC State. James Madison was actually holding their own with NC State for the majority of that game.
So was Tulane.
Wake Forest literally was almost lost it at the last second to Tulane. So we didn't get ours right, but I still feel pretty good about the pick. So let's move on to this upcoming week. Week 2 now in college football. A lot of big games still on Saturday. Let's start right here in the Carolinas. So I don't know if you want to call it a big game because neither team is expected to do much this year, but UNC Tar
For the
Heels.
state of North Carolina, this is a big game.
It is a big game. UNC Tar Heels are going to Greenville to take on the East Carolina Pirates.
Yes.
So who you got, Jeremy, or Russell?
Well, I'm going to pull out another thing here in my cup, and I am going all out Pirates. I'm sure everybody knows this by now, but I'm going all out Pirates for this one. We did a little trash talking already. At least I have.
Yeah.
Remember 70 points we put up over UNC.
Yeah, and that wasn't that long ago. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that UNC is going to win the national championship, but I fully expect
This is bragging rights.
I fully expect them to go into Greenville and beat the Pirates.
No,
the Pirates are not good this year. Not good
Look,
at all.
I know that they probably definitely need a coaching change because Coach Mo needs to be no Mo. So as far as that is concerned, UNC does not have a great coach either. Larry Fedora, he needs to go too. So I think this could be a game between if you lose, you're gone.
All right, so you're taking ECU. I'm obviously taking
Pirates.
my Tar Heels. Who you taking?
I got East Carolina because this is going to be a redemption for East Carolina. If you lose to A&T Greensboro, oh yeah, congratulations to the Aggie Pride around here for that win.
To be fair, they did. They have a 2-season winning streak right now.
Yeah,
Who?
A&T.
Whoop-de-doo.
and
I mean, to be fair, they're a good team.
and I look at East Carolina coming in. as a redemption and redeem themselves and take the win over the Tar Heels. I love you, Tar Heels, but I love you when it comes to college basketball.
Look, ECU. This is not the same team that beat us by 30 points last time. The quarterback's gone. Zay Jones is now in the NFL. You know that other what was his name? Brian Justin. What was his name?
Justin Hardy.
Yeah, Hardy that broke records for ECU.
He in Buffalo. Last I heard, he was in Buffalo.
my point is that all these guys are gone, and at least I know who they were. I just look for UNC's got better athletes. Whether it might not be that much better, they still have better athletes. I look for them to take the W.
I mean, I know there's I think a 14-point ahead for UNC over ECU in this game.
Yeah.
But I mean, you just go down there, man. I was down there last week. That atmosphere is insane. How they do football down there. I know the fans love their football, regardless of how things are going for a team. They're all in for it. The players are all in for it. It is maddening how it goes, and I love what they do for football.
Yeah, and I'd be all for rooting for ECU if they weren't playing the Tar Heels. And that's how that cookie crumbles. But let's stay inside of the state. Another North Carolina team playing a North Carolina team. Appalachian State, fresh off of their almost upset over Penn State, is going to be heading towards UNC Charlotte to play them. So the 49ers and the Mountaineers, who you got?
I'm going to take Appalachian State. They played a heck of a game against Penn State last week,
Should've
and they
beat 'em.
almost won that game.
Should have beat them.
Yeah. But regardless, they had a very good game, and I think they can go ahead and take over Charlotte on this one.
What do you think, Jeremy? Who you got?
I think this is going to be a blowout in this game. Appalachian State, you already proven what they tried to do against Penn State. They took a loss, but redemption time.
You don't think maybe there's a chance App State could have like a little bit of a letdown coming off such a big game? I mean, that could happen. You're not at home.
Yeah, but I mean, Appalachian State, they've had a pretty solid team. So I just, even regardless, they gotta be feeling good about themselves. The fact that they even held their own against a 10th ranked team at the time. So I think they'll come in and whip up Charlotte.
Yeah, and I've got Appalachian State winning. I don't think this is going to be any kind of upset. UNC Charlotte's just not quite there as a program. However, I just want to say this. UNC Charlotte, to me, is a school that could be really good at football in the future if they want to be. You've got a brand new stadium there. You're in a large metropolitan city. You'd be able to get athletes, you would think. You're in the South still. I can see UNC Charlotte maybe even, in the next 10, 15 years moving up to a Power 5 conference.
Yeah,
just
first of all,
that.
they need to win a Sun Belt Conference title before that happens.
They do. They still got a lot of work to do. But again, I think being in a big city may end up helping them in the long run. All right, let's go towards the SEC. We got Georgia heading towards South Carolina. So South Carolina's ranked now coming in.
Yeah.
Of course, they do that sometimes just so when they put it up, it's got a number team versus a number team. Nonetheless, who are you taking?
I've got to go with the Bulldogs on this one. They're going to come into Columbia, and they're going to walk out of there as the winners. I mean, South Carolina, they're probably going to be a decent team this year, not going to be a great team. I think this is going to decide right here the East Division for the SEC, and I think Georgia's going to get that.
Who are you taking, Jeremy?
I got Georgia because this is going to be a situation where the Bulldogs going to come into this game, take care of business against South Carolina, and pick up the W.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Georgia's still Georgia. South Carolina's on the up and up as a program. I think might even have a chance in the eastern part, maybe towards the end of the season. We'll have to wait and see because I think South Carolina has a favorable schedule. But second game of the year, Georgia all day. Moving forward, Clemson, another ACC team here, facing an SEC team. Now, we just saw Bama beat the snot out of Louisville, so let's just get some redemption for the ACC. Clemson or Texas A&M? Who are you taking?
I'm going to go with Clemson on this one. I can't go against them on this game. I mean, A&M, I think they had a solid week to start off, but I don't think they can get past the Tigers on this one.
What do you think, Jeremy? Any chance A&M wins?
No.
All right. I mean, you guys know where I'm standing on this. I got Clemson, even in College Station, even with the 12th man. I got the Tigers' defensive front just wreaking havoc on A&M. And then finally, the late game, Pac-12 matchup, USC at Stanford. So this probably could be the biggest game of the week, right?
Yeah, this is going to decide the Pac-10? 12. This is going to decide the Pac-12 right here.
All right, who you taking?
I got Southern Cal.
I'm going to go with the Stanford Tree. That's their mascot, right? The Tree?
It's the Stanford Cardinal.
The
actual
got a tree as a
mascot.
mascot.
It makes no sense.
Well, yeah, I'm going to go with Stanford. I think they've always been a pretty solid team. USC is a good team, and I think if they win this game, they'll definitely build up their momentum and their recognition nationally throughout the whole season.
Yeah, I think that I've got USC. I got the Trojans, even though they're starting a freshman quarterback. Sam Darnold's big shoes to fill. USC is one of those programs is still stacked with athletes on top of athletes. I think that makes the difference. Although they're going to have to stop Bryce Love in the Stanford backfield. So looking at our locked in and our upset alerts. So locked in, Russell, who you got this week?
I'm going to go down to the SEC with Florida beating Kentucky. I mean, both teams are 1-0 to start off the season, but Florida, I mean, they can get this one here done. Kentucky's not usually known as a football team, more or less basketball, so I think Florida's going to get this one here done.
So that's your locked in.
Yep.
Okay, that could be a tight one.
I'm going to go a little tough on this one.
Yeah, that one could be a tight one, though. Who you got for locked in this week?
I got Coach Charlie Strong and the Texas Longhorn take care of business against Tulsa. We know that Texas is a football school. It probably not even ranked right now, but
No, they're not.
and I can see Texas take care of business.
My team got knocked out too. I'm taking Florida State over Stanford. Now we know Florida State's not ranked now. Stanford's a small school. The reason I wanted to bring this match up, my cousin's daughter just started her freshman year at Sanford. Her dad, who's my cousin's husband, was the starting quarterback at Sanford when he was there. Probably 20 years ago. He also is a big Florida State fan, so I have to ask him, like, who you taking, your alma mater or your favorite team? Of course, he's sticking with Sanford now because his daughter goes there. But that's why I wanted to bring this one up. But I still have the Seminoles beating them because Sanford's a small school. And then our upset picks for this week, who you got?
Well, I'm going to go down to Conway, South Carolina. I'm going to pick Coastal Carolina, Chanticleers. They're going to beat UAB. They're actually coming in as a very non-favorite to win this game. They're going to go in, I want to say they're going to be at Coastal, but UAB is a really strong team in the Sun Belt Conference. So I say Coastal can get this one done. Of course, they're coming off of a loss to South Carolina. Maybe they might learn something in that game and help them beat the Blazers.
All right, who you taking for upset this week?
My upset alert is going to be the Pittsburgh Panthers, and they upset alert going to be Penn State.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw Penn State almost lose one to App, so there's no reason why Pitt can't do it. I think that one's at Pitt, too, isn't it?
Yes.
My upset for this week, I'm taking Kansas State over number 18 Mississippi State. This is going to actually be in Manhattan, Kansas. The biggest difference here, obviously everybody knows about Mississippi State's quarterback, Nick Fitzgerald, could be a possible Heisman winner. People are not talking about his counterpart on the other side of the ball, K-State's quarterback, Alex Delton, who is kind of similar to Fitzgerald, where he can run. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife, if you will. Can run the ball, get you rushing touchdowns, can throw it. So Kansas State, year after year, seems to be one of those teams that is always putting people on upset alert, and I'm taking them for this week. Excuse me. Now, real quick, because I know we're running out of time. We're going to start a new one when we do Big Man on Campus, which will basically be who we think our top performer is for each week. Jeremy, let's start with who's your Big Man on Campus for week one?
I want to say is Cole McDonald, quarterback for Hawaii. He threw for 428 yards with 6 touchdowns.
That's a big game.
Well,
what you got?
With the biggest question around over preseason was who's going to start for Alabama at the quarterback position. Tua got that position. I cannot pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try to.
Tagovailoa.
I'm not going to try. I'm going to call him Tua. He got the position, and I think he's going to be the big man on campus for a little while. We're going to talk more about this later. I'm not going to get to my rant yet, but I'm going to pick Tua.
All right. And I'm taking Will Grier, the starting quarterback for West Virginia. He threw for 429 yards and 5 touchdowns in the Mountaineers' 40-14 win over Tennessee that we talked about earlier. I mentioned last week before last, that Will Grier is on the top of a lot of people's early season Heisman hype. Mm-hmm. He did nothing to drop off of that list or drop any further down that list. So right now, that's my big man on campus. And then finally, guys, just want to read off a couple things that have changed for the top 25 poll. Most of the top teams stayed the same. Of course, Washington dropped back after losing to Auburn. Auburn jumped all the way up to number 7. Notre Dame jumped all the way up to number 8 after beating Michigan. So they're now both in the top 10 after starting the season. Outside of that, the biggest jumper this week, though, LSU moved up 14 spots and is now sitting at number 11 after beating Miami. So, I mean, maybe LSU needs that respect. I don't know. Again, I just think the Hurricanes are overrated, but that's just me. But that's going to do it for college football for week 1. But, of course, we'll be back this time next week, let you know about everything that happened in week 2, let you know how bad the Tar Heels beat the Pirates.
Go Pirates!
And all the other games that are going on that matter. So,
Really do.
When we come back, though, the reason we're wearing this gear, NFL starts tonight. So we're going to get into that, make some picks, figure out who we think is going to go to the Super Bowl, top performers, all that and more when we come back to the RO Sports Show. Hayden Construction has 2 new homes under construction at 2 distinct locations. 125 Crystal Court in Carolina Hills and on Robberdale School Road. Both feature incredible floor plans and distinct features inside and out. Hayden Construction, quality, value, and beauty. Call Jamie Smart at 910-331-5811 or Nicole Hayden at 910-995-0717 today to schedule an appointment. Exit Realty, making dreams a reality.
At Richmond County Hospice, we strive to provide high-quality care to our patients and their families. Whether it's the incredible hospitality at the Haven House or from the comfort of your own home, you can count on Hospice to be there for you. We also offer monthly grief support groups, and our chaplain will be there to hold your hand in prayer. Through our amazing staff and our volunteers, Hospice has made difficult times easier for our community. Call the number on your screen if you feel that you or your loved one may benefit from our services. Richmond County Hospice. Peace, comfort, dignity.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. NFL starts tonight. Big matchup between the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles, and we'll get to all that, plus every other pick for the NFL's Week 1. But in the meantime, guys, I wanted to talk to you about who you think are going to be the best teams in this upcoming NFL season. So who do you think is going to be on top or near the top this year?
I'm going to start with my NFC. I think there's going to be a scenario where you're always going to look at Philadelphia Eagles as your defending Super Bowl champions, but you got other teams like the Minnesota Vikings. You're always going to have the LA Rams, Carolina, and you're probably going to look for one sleeper team I'm going to look at is a lot of people better watch out for Green Bay.
All right. Who you got as your best couple teams?
Well, I mean, I do definitely like the Packers, but I'm probably going to go with the Eagles being one of the better teams out of the NFC, obviously coming off the Super Bowl win. And, of course, you can't go wrong without the Patriots, but I'm going to probably pick maybe the Steelers coming out as a big team to watch out for this season.
All right, but just to ask you a couple questions about that. Carson Wentz not starting the season under center for Philly. Now, of course, he missed some games last year. They didn't skip a beat with Nick Foles. Is that going to matter to begin the season?
No.
They'll still be one of the top teams?
Yeah.
As long as they don't get a false start penalty for the center not being on the snap, they're good.
What about the Steelers, though? Le'Veon Bell is still yet to commit long-term, or at least, figure out a deal with the Steelers. Is that going to hurt them down the line?
I don't think so because they already got enough running backs to handle the load while Le'Veon Bell decide what he wants to do.
A couple of my teams, obviously the Patriots, I feel like as long as Belichick and Brady are there, if he plays till he's 50, they're still going to win 12 games this year. It's like an anomaly. But I've also got the Kansas City Chiefs as being a decent team this year. And I know they traded Alex Smith to the Redskins. Patrick Mahomes, I think, coming out as he'll be his first year starting, but second year in the league, I think he was able to learn a little bit last year, and I expect big things from Mahomes for the Chiefs. Of course,
but look for another team that you might want to watch in the AFC, and it's kind of a team that we don't talk a lot, but a coach has come back, and that's Oakland Raiders with John Gruden.
all right.
Because he's taken 10 years away from the game to do a sports for Monday Night Football and do a lot of quarterback conversations with a lot of the upcoming ones, and the ones who he talked with is already in the NFL. I'm going to see John Gruden going to do with Oakland again.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Another team that I've got expecting a big year is the New Orleans Saints. And the NFC South is going to be tough between the Panthers, the Falcons, the Saints. I mean, those are three really good teams and are expected to do well this year. But again, I feel like Drew Brees is up for a big year. What do you think?
I think statistically wise, as long as you're number 9 on the center, he going to put up stats.
And, of course, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers getting that monster new deal. The Packers have to be reckoned with this year, right?
Oh, yeah.
I would be wearing a Green Bay Packers shirt right now if it wasn't for the fact that we had a green screen in place. So.
All right, so best teams, those are who we're expecting to at least be towards the top of the league by the end of the year. Now, I also wanted to ask you guys, AFC and NFC championship picks. So, Russell, who you got to representing them AFC in the Super Bowl?
I've got the Cowboys. Just kidding. No, I think the Packers are going to have a strong season, and I think they can make it all the way. I know sometimes they have an issue of getting through the playoffs for like the second to last round of it or something like that. So I can see the Packers probably coming out finally. As far as the AFC goes, I would probably say, I'm going to throw out the Browns. Why not them?
The Browns.
Why not? They can only go up from here, right?
The Browns.
I'll tell you what. Go to Vegas and put a bet down on that right now.
I'm gonna hold that. I'm gonna hold it, Browns.
If you and the Browns go to the Super Bowl, I'd be glad they're gonna make some money.
Then we will take you to Vegas.
Yeah.
We'll play something, blackjack or something. But who you got the teams representing the Super Bowl?
I got for my NFC champions. I'm gonna go with the Panthers, and don't sleep on them. And then for the AFC, I would love to see a Super Bowl rematch of Panthers versus the Patriots. And the Panthers come out on top this time.
The Panthers come out on top. How did I know you were going to take the Panthers, huh?
Third time's a charm.
I can't see
That's
it.
my team.
I'm actually, I'd like to pick the Redskins. I just don't think I can do that this year. But I've got the Falcons beating the Saints in the NFC Championship. I got the Chargers over the Patriots in the AFC Championship. And I've got the Falcons beating the Chargers. Look, the Chargers have always had a really good offense with Phillip Rivers. I know he's starting to get up there. But I feel like Mike Williams is probably going to be formidable this year. You know, he was injured last year, big wide receiver out of Clemson. And now you've got a really, really good defense to back up that offense. Of course, they also brought Antonio Gates back with Hunter Henry getting injured. Obviously, he knows the system. Well, you got Joey Bosa on the outside. You got Melvin Ingram from right here in Richmond County on the inside. That's a really good defense with those two cornerstones alone.
And then even when you picked up Darren James from Florida State and you got Jason Verrett and Casey Hayward leading down the secondary, I think that's going to be a scenario where LA Chargers could have a possibility to do what they need to do. But the question is, always known over the course of years with San Diego / LA.
I think I said San Diego too.
San Diego, it's okay. I think they'll dominate. They'll kind of play a little wishy-washy during the first few 6 games, and then they'll come strong in November and December.
Yeah.
Because that's why I know they play their best ball. Sorry, Melvin, but I'm just putting how I feel.
Well, I think the Chargers, it's kind of ripe for the picking in the AFC West right now. But again, we'll have to wait and see. Come back later on in the year, see how we're doing as far as these picks. Because our predictions with this show first started with your upset of the Eagles over the Patriots in this last year's Super Bowl. So now we're starting all over with NFL too, see who ends up getting the most. And also, guys, I wanted to run through the first week's picks, see who you're taking. So obviously tonight's a big game. Atlanta Falcons heading up to Philly. That's going to start at 8:20 tonight. So real quick, guys, who you taking, Atlanta or Philly?
Philadelphia.
Philly. I'm going Philly.
Philly. I'm gonna take the Falcons just because I took them to win the World Series, win the Super Bowl. My brain's on baseball. All right, starting for the early Sunday games, we got Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Who are you taking?
Cleveland.
Pittsburgh.
I'm taking Pittsburgh too, even if Le'Veon Bell's not there. Which, by the way, please come back because you're on my fantasy team. You were my number 1 pick. Just take the money that they give you and make good for my team. Up next, 1 o'clock game: Cincinnati at Indianapolis. So Bengals or Colts? Who you got, Jeremy?
I got the Colts.
I'm going to take the Colts.
I'm going to take the Colts too. I think this might be a year where they end up around 500 again. Finally, all going to depend on how Andrew Luck does, right? Mm-hmm. Next up is Tennessee at Miami. So an AFC matchup. Who are you taking?
I'm going to go Miami.
I'll go with Miami.
I'm going to go Tennessee. I think this is going to be a big year for Mariota. Miami, they seem to be up and down. You don't know what you're going to get from Ryan Tannehill. Moving on, San Francisco at Minnesota. Another 1 o'clock game.
Yeah, I'm probably going to take the Vikings on this one. I think that could do pretty good here.
Yeah.
Minnesota, because I'm going to see how Kirk Cousins is going to do this year.
I do too. I think that's obviously a big talking point. I think Minnesota's expecting a big year as well. I expect, though, again, I keep saying this, but I expect big things for Jimmy Garoppolo, too, the 49ers quarterback. I think this could end up being a close game. And I expect San Francisco to be good again here in a couple years with him under center. Yeah. Up next, this was kind of a big game. Houston traveling to New England. Texans or Pats? Who you got?
I'm going to have to take New England on this one.
I'm going to say an upset alert. I'm going with Houston.
I'm going with Houston, too. Deshaun Watson is the man. I really wish he hadn't gotten hurt last year. I can't wait to see him hopefully play a full season. Can't wait for that to start against the Patriots, although you could never really bet against the Patriots unless it was in last year's Super Bowl, which you did. Moving on, an NFC South game here to start the season. Tampa Bay traveling to New Orleans against the Saints. Who you got?
I got Tampa Bay.
I'm going to go with New Orleans.
I'm taking New Orleans, too. Drew Brees all day. Not a fan of Jameis Winston. Jacksonville at the New York Giants. Who you got?
I'm going to go with the Jaguars.
I'm going to go to the G-Man.
I'm going to have to take Jacksonville, but I think it's going to be close. It's going to be Jacksonville's D-line, seeing what Saquon Barkley's going to do. I think the D is going to be...
I think Fournette's going to play a big role in this game.
That too. Another young running back. So, yeah, I got Jacksonville. Moving on, Buffalo at Baltimore, the last 1 o'clock game. Bills or Ravens? Who you got?
Ravens.
Yeah?
I got B. Moore.
I'm going to take the Ravens. I think Buffalo's going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year.
Yeah, I told you that one year that playoff, that was just a one-hit wonder.
Yeah. Moving on to the later afternoon games at 4:05 on Sunday. The Chiefs from Kansas City be traveling to L.A. to play the Chargers. Who you got?
I'm thinking Kansas City on this one.
I'm going with the division. It's a divisional game. I'm going to pick the LA Chargers.
I'm going to take the Chargers too for all the reasons I mentioned about them making it to the Super Bowl. Seattle heading to Denver. So Seahawks and Broncos. Who you guys taking?
I think it'll be a good game. I'm going to take Denver.
All right.
I'm going to take my chance on Seattle.
I'm going to take Denver as well, just because they're at home. This one could be one of the closer games as well. A big one for my Redskins this week, traveling to Arizona. Cardinals or Skins? Who you got?
I'm going with the Cardinals.
All right.
Redskins.
I'm going to take the Redskins too, and I'll tell you what. If they weren't, I really think they can beat Arizona. I'm not just saying that because I'm wearing the jersey. I try to, even though I've got this on, I try to keep my head and my heart separated when it comes to making picks. But I really think they can travel to Arizona and win, even with David Johnson back and fully healthy. Let's skip the last one for that one and go to Chicago at Green Bay.
Really?
We're going to skip it for a reason. Chicago at Green Bay. Who you guys taking?
Go ahead.
Go, Pack, go.
All right.
I'm going to take my chance on Chicago because I just want to see how this defense going to do with the acquisition of Keli Mack.
Yeah, Mack definitely going to make a difference for them. I'm going to take Green Bay, though. Aaron Rodgers shreds the Bears, it seems like every year. The Monday night games, we've got the New York Jets visiting the Detroit Lions. Who you taking, Jeremy?
Detroit.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Detroit as well.
I got Detroit all day. New York Jets, Sam Darnold's coming in his first game as a rookie. I think Detroit takes advantage of that. The last Monday night game, the late one, is the Rams traveling to Oakland to play the Raiders. Who you taking?
Raiders.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm going with the Rams.
I'm going with the Rams, too. I think they're just the better team.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then finally, a game that has something to do with all of us is the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Charlotte to play the Panthers. Now, obviously, you're a Panthers fan. We're against Dallas. Who you taking?
Is he serious right now?
Exactly.
Is he serious right now? I'm going with the best team in the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers. Keep calm, keep pounding. This is going to be a situation where Carolina's going to come in, going to beat the mess out of Dak Prescott, and going to make Ezekiel Elliott stay comfortable, real comfortable on that ground.
All right. Who you taking?
Who are you choosing?
I'm taking the Panthers.
I'm going to go Cowboys.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to say this for the world. If Dallas beat Carolina, I will personally next week buy him some bracelets because he'll be converted from a Redskins to a Dallas.
I don't even know what to say to you wearing that and picking the Cowboys.
No, I don't want to continue with the Cowboys. I think it's going to be an upset here. I think the Panthers got a good season this year.
Yeah, he will.
And Cowboys, I mean, they're mediocre for the most part. They are. But
Yeah.
I think this could be a game where it's overthought by the Panthers, and Cowboys could actually genuinely just beat. I mean, this is week one.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
You know we 2-0 against Dallas right now.
True.
Yeah, well, that may be. I mean, look, Dallas. I think not having a top wide receiver is going to come back to bite them this year. I think that's where people are going to stack the box, and it's going to be Elliott or nobody. I'm thinking, and because of that, I got the Panthers winning. Although, I'm not a Panthers fan, but nonetheless, I mean, I still pull for you guys, especially when you're playing the Cowboys. And how dare you?
Oh, what was that earlier about using your head and your heart?
That's true. You're right. I'll give you props for that. You're right about that because, again. But I'm picking the Redskins to win, so,
But let it be known, I do hate the Cowboys with a passion.
I do too, along with the Patriots. Let that be known.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's why you didn't pick them at the Super Bowl.
That's right.
But anyway, that's going to do it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I tell anybody can win the Super Bowl except for the Patriots. Let somebody else get the glory sometime.
Right. Yeah, please share the wealth, especially towards the D.C. area. But that's going to do it, guys, for NFL. Just like we've done with the other segments, we're going to look back on this week one, see how everybody did with their picks, see who's the breakout stars, see how my fantasy team's doing. I don't know if you guys play fantasy or not. I'll probably be in last place. That's usually where I end up when the season's over. But when we come back, Russell's got an exclusive interview with Joseph Lombard, a NASCAR YouTuber, pretty famous, and pretty great interview. Let's talk about everything going on in the world of NASCAR over the past week. But all that plus our big impacts of the week, love it or hate it, and much more when we come back to the Auto Sports Show.
At Kyocera, we see your company differently. We see your documents, how they're accessed, what it takes to keep them secure, and how well your workflow is flowing.
Kyocera helps your entire document infrastructure run more efficiently, securely, and cost-effectively.
And what we see is an opportunity to integrate all of it.
Welcome back to the RO Sports Show, and joining me now over the phone is Joseph Lombard from Lombard Bros Gaming, aka Into SC4R on YouTube. Joseph, thanks for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, so let's talk about a little bit about what you do. Obviously, you're a NASCAR YouTube kind of gamer, so tell us a little about what you do with that.
Yeah, so I started YouTube back in July of 2010, and pretty much I was still kind of a new back then, didn't really know the policies too much, or I just haven't paid close attention to it. And that first channel I had went to about a year and a half, because, you know, I kept getting copyright strikes, because like I mentioned, I'm kind of a noob when it came to YouTube back then. But the channel that I'm on now, which is Into SC4R, started back in March of 2012, and that's the channel I'm currently on since right now has over 53,000 subscribers. And basically I do mainly NASCAR gaming. I'll do some other videos with my brother every now and then, but no, the channel is good. You know, it's been growing each and every day, and I appreciate the support that my subscribers, the fans, that gives me every day, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They just give me all the support they can give me, and so far the YouTube channel has been doing good.
Yeah, and I've been following you for, I want to say, maybe about 8 years myself, and I love your content. But with what you're doing on YouTube has kind of transitioned you a little bit into NASCAR itself with a sponsorship with Ryan Sieg Racing. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Lombard Bros Gaming got started, I would say, somewhere in the middle of 2015, but it really became official in early 2016. It actually got started by my father, and he helped create this business. And unfortunately, since he's not here anymore, we wanted to continue to run the business. My mother helps me out with the financial side and the main business side, and my brother Zachary and I, we just do all the gaming content, the streaming, and the YouTube content for that channel as well. We run mainly the social media sites as well, with my mother running the main website, LombardBrosGaming.com. So basically what Lombard Bros Gaming is basically it's a place where, you know, unfortunately we have kids or young people facing rough times each and every day, whether it's with school or back at home, and thought they needed a place to like relax, chill, and have a good time. And so we basically run these fan participation live streams from Monday through Friday for about 3 hours a day. And basically we do online gaming where we can where we allow anybody that all age, all skill level, just to come on and enjoy, to get away from the rough times they're going through for a little while, and come have some fun with us and make some friends, and just like mainly just have a good time. Now the Ryan Sieg sponsorship thing got started. Basically, my brother and I, we were flying back from Daytona 500 weekend. We just landed back at home when I got a message on Facebook from a friend of mine that actually knew the race team pretty well. He came to me and told me that Ryan Sieg needed a sponsorship for Auto Club Speedway, the Xfinity race that weekend. So I'm thinking, yeah, I can look into it. So I asked him if he can give me his contact information, how I can reach out to the race team. So the very next day, I reached out to the race team and told them that if you guys need a sponsor for Auto Club Speedway, I'm more than happy to help you guys with that. So the next 2 days we were working it out, and we actually made it official. It didn't take that long at all. We made a good deal out of it, and officially Lombard Bros Gaming became the sponsorship for Ryan Sieg for Auto Club Speedway. And so we went out to Auto Club Speedway that weekend and saw the car for the very first time, and it was honestly unbelievable. Like, I would have never thought in my life, you know, being a NASCAR fan, would I have any part of what I'm doing in my life be part of a race car, NASCAR stock car, anything involving NASCAR in that extent. So it was pretty cool to meet the race team. The race team is a very good race team. Obviously they are an underfunded team trying to look for sponsors each and every week, and it's so cool to help them out even for a race or two. So he did pretty well out there at Elk Grove Speedway. He ended up with a 20th place finish, so I thought it was pretty cool. The biggest thing that was pretty cool about that weekend was they put my father's name on the passenger side window of the car, and just to honor him. And so I thought that was a big deal for me and my entire family as well. And Auto Club was honestly going to be the only race we were going to sponsor them, and then we came back to them after that weekend and said, hey, here's what we can do. If we're willing to do it, we can help you guys for a few more races this season. So we got on board with that, and we officially got them for a few more races. Bristol earlier this year, Dover, Michigan, Iowa, and Road America we got on the car. So it was pretty cool to help a small team out with sponsorship because, like I said, they're trying to look for sponsorship each and every week. And so it was a pleasure to have Ryan Sieg Racing, to have Lombard Bros Gaming on the car. I got to thank them so much for the opportunity and the support. I know they think the same way for us as well, that they're appreciative of that. And I appreciate even the fans have been supporting this entire deal as well. And we're thinking about working out in 2019. We're not sure yet what's going to happen in 2019, if we're going to work with them again, but we've been talking about it, and hopefully we can work with them again in the future.
That's really cool too. I mean, obviously, a NASCAR. One way to get into NASCAR, you could be a driver, or you could be part of the crew, or you could be a sponsor. And I think that's really cool that you guys got on the car like that. There's all different kinds of different ways you can get in NASCAR, and it's really cool. So kind of transitioning over a little bit, let's talk a little bit about that Road America race that Ryan Sieg was in, that last one there, where he actually led a couple of laps in that race, didn't he?
He did. He actually led one of the restarts, and he actually led the first few corners after the restart, and then unfortunately that same exact lap later on, coming into the last corner, a spin happened in front of him, and when he checked up, he spun right into the sand trap, which it's not easy to get out, but Ryan Sieg, he kept his foot on the gas, and I don't think he intentionally wanted to do one full donut in that sand trap. He was, I was told that he was putting that steering wheel all the way to the right, but the car kept going left, and it just drove right back into the sand trap. We're thinking, oh man, he's not going to get out of this thing. And no, he just kept his foot in the gas, and somehow he got out of it. And which was pretty impressive, not easy to do, but unfortunately it resulted in a 26th place finish. Real quick thing about sponsorship with Lombard Bros Gaming, I want to give a quick shout out to a driver named Mike Ogren. He is a Nissan Micro Cup Series driver. He's a rookie driver up there in that series. It's a series up in Canada, and we actually got on board his Nissan race car for this season as well for a few races. So it was pretty cool opportunity to expand Lombard Bros Gaming into other racing series, and who knows if it will help out any other racing series, help out another driver. But no, we're pretty happy with where Lombard Bros Gaming and who they're working with right now.
All right, so how about we talk a little bit about this past weekend at Darlington. Let's recap that a little bit with how the race went down. Of course, it was throwback weekend, and we had all kinds of cool looking paint schemes, drivers going back in time with their hairstyles and their outfits and uniforms. So let's talk a little bit about how that race went down kind of towards the end of it with Kyle Larson and Brad Keselowski. What was your thoughts on that race?
Well, first off, I thought Darlington, first off, is always a special race each and every year, especially when it's throwback weekend at the racetrack. You know, Darlington is such a cool track and a cool race to watch, and it was a good turnout with the crowd too. No, the race overall seemed like it was good, even though Kyle Larson was like mostly dominating the race. There was still battles all around the racetrack. Like I said, it was a good race. We thought for a while, I think a lot of people thought for a while that Kyle Larson was going to take home the victory Sunday night. And then around 50 laps to go, whatever that two-team found on one of the pit stops, what adjustments they found, it worked to their favor because they stayed, Brad Keselowski stayed right there with Kyle Larson in the final 50 laps. And unfortunately, when that last caution came out, it did not really help out Kyle Larson at all. He came on pit road first, but didn't come off pit road first. He came off second because Brad Keselowski and the two-team had a little bit better pit stop than Kyle Larson's crew did. So Brad Keselowski got out in front, and when that final restart, he just never looked back. He took off and took home the checker flag. I really wanted Kyle Larson to win so bad, to be honest with you, but it just didn't work out to his favor towards the end. I'm not upset at all that Brad Keselowski won. I think it was cool for him, especially in that Rusty Wallace throwback scheme.
Oh, yeah.
So congrats to Brad Keselowski on the win on Sunday night. It was a big win for him, just based on his interview, just a lot of emotion there as well. So I think that was pretty cool as well. But overall, I thought it was a good race for sure. I love Throwback Weekend. I thought just the schemes themselves looks pretty awesome, and the crews and the drivers, they look good in their attire. So Throwback Weekend is always special at Darlington. I would say my favorite throwback paint scheme, and coming from a Jeff Gordon fan myself, you can never go wrong with that Rainbow Warrior scheme of William Byron in that 24 car. That car is not hard to miss, and it's just a very special car. It's just always something that's obviously going to be one of my favorite schemes of all time. So, but again, like I said, Darlington was a pretty good race overall, in my opinion.
Yeah, and both those drivers were still looking for that win in 2018. And so with Brad Keselowski now locked in the playoffs, we only got one more race until the playoffs begin, which is Indianapolis. So looking forward, do you got any predictions for Indianapolis this week?
I just hope for a good race. I know the last few years the attendance-wise hasn't really played out at the racetrack, which is a shame because Indianapolis is a special racetrack, especially in the IndyCar side. Obviously on Memorial Day weekend they got the biggest race of the year there, the Indianapolis 500. And, the Brickyard 400 in the first 10 or so years, so 10 to 12 so years, the attendance was really good there, and then the last few years, for whatever reason, it's just not provided any good attendance at all. So I don't know if this moving Indianapolis Motor Speedway was a good move to put it as the final race before the playoffs. Time will tell with that, but I hope for a good race on Sunday, but who knows with Indianapolis, like it's been the last few years with stock car racing there. So time will tell. We'll just have to wait to see what happens on Sunday, and see how the race will play out, especially since it's now the final race before the playoffs.
And speaking of the playoffs, any predictions on that? Who do you think might make it to the Final Four? Of course, we're still trying to figure out who's going to be that last one to be locked in. Of course, there's like two of them at the very bottom. So going forward into the playoffs, who do you expect to see kind of in that Final Four there?
Well, you can't go wrong with the big three drivers that they can definitely go all the way to the Final Four. You got Kevin Harvick, who's got the most wins this season. He's been really strong. Kyle Busch, he's leading the regular season points, and I feel like he's going to most likely lock up the regular season championship. He's been strong this year. And Martin Truex Jr., obviously, Furniture Row Racing is shutting its doors. Announced yesterday that they were going to shut the doors after this season. So
that's very unfortunate too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the Final Four. He's defending champion, and he's got some good racetracks coming up that he could definitely get there. And the fourth driver, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because, there's some good, if he can make it this far, he's got some good racetracks in that round of 8, and then of course going into Homestead Miami Speedway. But I would love to see Kyle Larson to make it into the Final Four as well. So because you got a 1.5 mile racetrack at Texas Motor Speedway in the round of 8. You got Phoenix in there. He's been strong there a couple of times. And, of course, Homestead Miami Speedway, just him at 1.5 mile racetracks, he's been really good. So I feel Kyle Larson can be a Final Four driver as well.
Yeah, I agree with the big three for certain. Although I might say after this past Arlington race that maybe Brad might give Kyle a run for his money a little bit. So maybe a toss-up between those two could be in the works with that. And yeah, you brought up Martin Truex Jr. His team, Furniture Row Racing, they're shutting its doors after this season. So any thoughts on that?
It's just a really big shock. I mean, how many times do you see a NASCAR race team win a championship one season and then after the next season they're shutting its doors? That doesn't happen at all, and it shouldn't happen. It's a shame. I feel like Furniture Row Racing has really come a long way since when it first started in 2007. From going from nothing to winning a championship last season, especially for a one-car team for the most part. It's just really a shame and a shock to hear this news yesterday. I mean, a couple months ago it started to become a rumor, but throughout the weeks it was really possibly starting to become a reality. But I was really hoping for good news that they found a sponsorship for next season that they can continue their operations, but unfortunately we got the sad news that Furniture Row Racing will no longer be operating after this season. So it's a shock to the NASCAR community, that's for sure. It's a shock to me, and the question was, where was Martin Truex Jr. going to go? And then a couple hours later, it was announced that Martin Truex Jr. was going to go to Joe Gibbs Racing for 2019, and most likely definitely going to that 19 car, replacing Daniel Suarez. So definitely a couple of big news yesterday, that was for sure. But all the employees from Furniture Row Racing, unfortunately, they're going to have to go out and find some jobs, and I hopefully whether it's involving NASCAR or something else, but I do wish everybody in Furniture Row Racing, all the employees there, the best of luck in their future. And I think what would be pretty cool if somehow Martin Truex Jr. can go off with this racing with a bang with another championship this season. It can happen. He's been strong this season. The last few weeks he's been kind of on a slump, but I feel that team can turn their luck around once playoffs come along. But again, Russell, it's just a big shock that Furniture Row Racing is going to be done after the season.
Yeah, I agree. It is a huge shock, and especially across the entire world of NASCAR to see that happen. Real quick, do you know what do you think will happen with Daniel Suarez getting moved out at 19? Where do you see him going from here on out?
Well, obviously there's a couple options, so like 2 or 3 options. Obviously the one car is open after this season, with McMurray, whether he's retiring or going somewhere else. Casey Kane obviously retiring after this season, so that 95 car is open. And then Kurt Busch, he got the win a couple weeks ago at Bristol Motor Speedway, but he's still they still haven't decided where Kurt Busch is going to go next season. So that 41 car could most likely be open. But, if I happen to choose one of the teams where Daniel Suarez is going to go, I wouldn't be surprised that most likely he's going to go in that 95 car, replacing Casey Kane, go to Leavine racing family. But who knows where this silly season is going to go. Obviously, a lot of big changes throughout the season that's going to involved in 2019. So time will tell. We're just waiting for some more announcements before the end of the season. But I feel Daniel Suarez, he'll still stay in the Cup Series, but obviously he won't be involved in the Joe Gibbs Racing anymore.
All right, Joseph, thanks for joining us, and I hope the weather's good out there in California for you.
Oh, the weather's been good. Actually, the sun is starting to come out now. It's been pretty much overcast this morning, but humid, obviously. Obviously, it's not the humidity that you guys get, which is, I was out in Charlotte this past week, last weekend. The humidity out there was unbelievable. But no, the trip out there was really good. Got to meet up with 704 Games that's making NASCAR Heat 3, and just been a pleasure for them to invite me out. And I will say, Russell, I gotta appreciate you taking the time to interview me. We got to meet each other last Friday out in Charlotte, and so it was pretty cool that you and I got to spend some time and talk to each other, and then got to do this interview today.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It was a pleasure meeting you as well. And folks, don't forget, his YouTube channel is Into SC4R. Joseph Lombard from Lombard Bros Gaming. Thanks for joining us, Joseph.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I want to give a quick shout real quick to my brother Zachary. You know, he's coming up on his 5-year anniversary on YouTube this December, so it's pretty cool for him. And, of course, I want to give a big shout out to my mother and all the, my mother has helped me every day with Lombard Bros Gaming and helped me out on the business side. And, of course, all my supporters, my fans, my subscribers, they're the ones that keeps me going each and every day, and I do the best I can to provide them good content and entertainment for them each and every day. But Russell, again, I thank you so much for taking the time to interview me today.
Oh, we appreciate you having you on here. All right, folks, when we return to the RO Sports Show, we've got more sports, all things. I think it'll be 11 Hate coming up. Yeah, let's see what Matt's got in store for everybody when we return to the RO Sports Show.
Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts is all about rustic home decor and gifts. You will always find a variety of unique antiques, vintage, and new items in our shop. Come and see our selection of housewarming, new baby, and wedding gifts. For the man in your life, we have many collectibles, Boker knives, and leather. And ladies love the jewelry, purses, candles, hats, and t-shirts. We also offer a 30-day layaway program. Come and experience shopping at Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts.
Welcome back to the RO Sports Show. As always, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics, and we appreciate Joseph Lombard from YouTube, Big YouTube NASCAR, for giving us that interview. So, NASCAR.
Yeah, I mean,
going on.
He's a really cool guy. First of all, so thanks for doing that for us. But NASCAR has been crazy this past couple weeks with Martin Truex Jr. not being able to find a ride next season, or he's got a ride next season, but his team's shutting down after this season, and a lot's going to be going on with that. Of course, we had throwback weekend for Darlington, so it was a lot of crazy stuff happening this week. A lot of fun stuff too. So appreciate Joseph for doing that interview with us.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it's the final segment, so let's end it the same way we always do. Let's start with our big impacts of the week. Of course, brought to you by Richmond Community College, whose motto is "Local College, Big Impact." Who you got this week, Russell?
I've got the Lady Raider volleyball team. They shut down the Hope County Bucks. They got split them 3-0, and they go back into the win column there. And so congratulations to the Lady Raiders.
All right, Jeremy, who you got? Big impact of the week.
My big impact for the week, I want to say congratulations to linebacker from the Seattle Seahawks, Shaquem Griffin, will be starting against Denver in place of starting linebacker KJ Wright. And a lot of people y'all don't realize Shaquem Griffin will be playing with one arm.
Yeah, and I think, if I remember correctly, that did a big impact on him when he was drafted.
Yeah.
Or no, I know what it was. It was in the combine when he was in there for UCF, and he broke all these records with just one arm. So very impressive. That's obviously big impact. And bringing it back to the local scene, my big impact this week is the Lady Raiders tennis team, who won their third straight SAC game in a row. Last week they beat Jack Britt. They also beat Hope County last week, and then of course defeated Lumberton on Tuesday. So beat them 9-0. So big impact on the tennis court. All right. So we talked a little bit NFL earlier. That's what our Ross poll is this week. And of course, you can get on the conversation looking up hashtag Ross poll on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page. And we mentioned with the NFL starting back tonight, we wanted to know from you, between these two quarterbacks, first rounders, who's more likely to be a bust? Baker Mayfield, who went number 1 to the Cleveland Browns, or Sam Darnold, who went right behind him at number 3 to the Jets? 60-40 saying Mayfield's going to be the bigger bust. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Sam Darnold. I mean, for the Browns, one way they can go is up. So I can't see there being a bust with Mayfield on that. But Darnold, he's probably going to have a lot of expectations coming into the Jets. So I can see as far as comparing those two like that, I think he's going to be the bust.
All right.
For this one, I'm going to have to disagree. I think Darnold's going to be the bust because due to the fact that lack of talent on the offensive side of the ball, and Todd Bowles is pretty much, he's more of a defensive-minded guy. I think this is going to be, Darnold's going to have some growing pains, and then even in the history of the Southern Cal quarterbacks, a lot of them don't succeed that well in the NFL, probably only for the exception of Carson Palmer. Now, Baker Mayfield, on the other hand, who is number 1, the Browns, like Russell said, the only way they can go is up, and all these acquisitions they had made, and in the running back position, and a good offensive system he's in under Todd Haley and Hugh Jackson. I can see Mayfield do well.
I'm going to say that Mayfield is going to be the bigger bust because all of those new acquisitions that they picked up, they're expecting a good season from that team, 6-7 wins perhaps. I think that's why Mayfield's going to be the bigger bust of the two because I think perhaps his expectations are higher than Darnold's. Obviously, Jet fans want them to do well this year, but I don't think many people outside of New York are expecting the Jets to get to the playoffs. Same thing for the Browns. I don't think a lot of people are expecting, except you, for them to get there. But I think that personally, Sam Darnold is the better of the two quarterbacks. I never thought Baker Mayfield should have been drafted number 1 to begin with. That's just me.
I have him going number 1.
But I still think he'll be the bigger bust of the two. But as I mentioned, there were also some other quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round. If you think one of those might be a bigger bust, of course, you can still go on there and comment on the Ross poll, even though the poll has officially ended. But again, you can get in on the conversation. Look up the hashtag Ross Poll. Find us on the RO Sports Show's Facebook page. Also find us on YouTube as well. So, guys, let's finish it up with Love It or Hate It. And we've got quite a few to talk about this
love
week.
it or hate it?
Do I what?
Do you love it or hate it?
Yes.
All right.
It's a good segment. Because I came up with it. But talking golf, we mentioned this a few weeks ago, but Jim Furyk finally selected Tiger and Phil Mickelson to be on the U.S. Ryder Cup team as at-large picks. Love it or hate it?
Love it.
Love it. About time.
Love it. I mean, they got to be on there, right? That's two of the best. By the way, Tiger and Phil are going to be facing off on pay-per-view. Remember we talked about this, that big match that we're going to have? They're going to do it for $9 million. It's going to be on pay-per-view, so we'll let you know when that comes out. Tiger versus Phil, real quick. Who would you take?
Tiger.
Yeah, me too. Even right now. The Steelers. We were talking about the Steelers earlier. James Conner, former Tennessee Volunteers, looks like he's going to get the start unless something changes between now and Sunday. But the Steelers say they're confident in James Conner if Bell doesn't come back. Love it or hate it?
I'm going to say love it.
All right.
Love it.
I'm going to say hate it because I think this is just lip service. Le'Veon Bell is one of the best running backs in the league. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Because James Conner be as good as him? Maybe. I don't think so. But
if he's not coming back, they got a good guy to have.
And what else were they going to say? Nah, he's trash. We don't know what to do. Here's something funny. We don't really talk a whole lot about hockey. Of course, the season's over. The Washington Capitals won the Stanley Cup. Alex Ovechkin was caught on film doing keg stands out of the Stanley Cup. Stanley Cup folks didn't like that too much. Said that that's going to be a thing of the past. But love it or hate it.
Love it. It's all funny. It's all fun.
Yeah.
I'm probably going. I mean, it's funny. Don't get me wrong, but I'm going to say hate because I think it kind of misrepresents the last Stanley Cup. It's kind of disrespecting that Stanley Cup for what it represents, and that is a champion. It should be more like a champion when it comes to having that.
I'm going to say hate it to the point of I hate the fact that they may get rid of this. When you win the Stanley Cup, everybody on the team gets to do something with it for at least a day or two. Mm. If he wants to drink beer out of it, who cares?
I was going to say now, regardless of what I just said there, I mean, you're champion, so you kind of get more leeway with that type of stuff anyways. It's tradition
when it comes to the NHL and the Stanley Cup to go and do stuff and do publicity with the Stanley Cup. And I think it's been 55 years since the Capitals won, or maybe have ever won a Stanley Cup. So it was 50 years in the making. Here's one for you, Russell. So Nick Saban has a little controversy with Maria Taylor, of course, sideline reporter for ESPN, asked Saban what I thought was actually kind of a fair question. What's the deal? What do you think about both quarterbacks? Of course, what some people say flipped on her a little bit, but love it or hate it.
I'm going to say hate it because the fact that Saban is sick and tired of these questions about the quarterback situation. That's been happening since preseason, and now that we actually had the starter settle, which was Tua to start the game, they're still asking questions throughout the game about it, and during halftime and then afterwards. I mean, what else do they want him to say? That Tua's the best and Jalen's the worst? Is that what they want? Because I think it's ridiculous. I think these guys, these I'm not going to name anybody, but these guys that are up there calling him a quote bully, but he keeps getting asked these questions. What do you expect him to do? You will expect him to say, "Yeah, this is what I'm going to do here and here." Just stop asking him. He doesn't want them anymore. He really doesn't have to answer to the media. He doesn't really have to answer these questions. So. I think some of these guys are also hypocrites the way they talk about Saban. So, I'm going to leave it at that because I got a lot more to say about it. We'll take up this rest of the segment.
Russell fired up. What do you think about this? Love it or hate it?
I'm going to say hate it because let Nick Saban do his job. He know what he's doing. He's a genius. And then at the same point in time, Tua won the job. Leave it alone.
Let me ask you guys this. Tua obviously played in the first half. Jalen played too, right? Mm-hmm. So why is it that out of the ordinary for Maria to ask him what did you think about both quarterbacks in the first half? He could have said, well, I thought they both did. This is what Tua did well. This is what Jalen did well. It didn't have to be. The answer didn't have to be one's bad and one's good.
But there was so many other things that are going on in that football game. The first question should not have been about the quarterback situation. It should have been about how their offense played or defense played overall, because there were issues. I mean, if asking that question should have been a first half question, not a second half question at the end of the game. That should have been asked right at the end at halftime. At the end of the game, it should have been overall the performance of the entire team, how they came out to flatten Louisville like they did. So, I mean, that should be more of a question, how they came back and done stuff like that throughout the game, how they work on things. That should be more of a legitimate question to ask. But Saban did apologize for what happened. But these guys at these other stations, they're continuing to bash Saban for whatever reason. So everything's fine now. It's just they want to continue to carry it out.
Well,
I don't think they got much to talk about.
I hardly think that he cares.
No, I don't think he does either.
I really don't even take his apology legitimately, because he probably isn't sorry. And I don't necessarily think he should be.
I think his wife might have told him to do it.
Maybe the school was like, hey, why don't you ESPN's, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, like you said, obviously he's got more important things. There are other more important things going on in the game. But I guess I need to make sure if I ever get a chance to interview Nick Saban, don't ask him about the dual quarterback system. So, moving on, the Raiders, we talked about this a second ago. The Raiders traded Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears. Love it or hate it?
I'm going to say hate it, because Oakland should have paid this man like a year ago. And now it's going to bite Oakland in the butt.
Yeah, I think it will too.
Yeah, I'm going to say hate it.
I'm going to say hate it for the Raiders, because they really didn't get much back either. Does this one move get Chicago Bears maybe in the playoffs with Trubisky under center?
It'll probably not really, but it's going to be like a year where it might pay dividend for the Chicago defense to make them look good.
Right.
And they got a lot of guys who will improve as time goes on, but I think it's going to be a scenario for the offense. It depends on how Mitch Trubisky does.
Yeah. Moving to basketball. Of course, the NBA season's over. We still got off-season stuff going on. The Warriors, David West, retired. We just talked about Manu. He's another guy retiring after 15 seasons in the NBA. David West, hanging him up. Love it or hate it?
I love it because he played for the Spurs.
Yeah, he did.
Congratulations on your retirement.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to say love it.
I love it too. I mean, he's a guy. He ended up getting a couple of other rings with the Warriors. I think he played for the Hornets, but while they were in New Orleans, I don't think he ever actually made it back to Charlotte.
No, he played for. He did get draft play for New Orleans, and then he also went to Indiana, played with Roy Hilbert and Lance Stevenson, then which they made it to like 3 straight Eastern Conference Finals back to back. Ended up losing to Miami on those occasions, but David West, a guy who was a perimeter defender, blocker, and could give you 15, 10 a night. Guy was very humble, didn't say very much, but when he was on that court, he was a monster. I say, again, congratulations on your retirement.
Real quick, first ballot Hall of Famer or eventual Hall of Famer, or not at all?
Probably in the Ring of Honor for probably New Orleans or probably New Orleans or Indiana.
All right. Moving on to a big thing that's been talked about this week, of course, Nike 30th anniversary of the Just Do It campaign. We had to bring this up, but it's got Colin Kaepernick in it. Of course, that has brought up all this other stuff dealing with the players kneeling and all that. And some people are for it, some are against it, some are indifferent. But them Nike featuring Colin Kaepernick, love it or hate it?
I love it. Just do it.
I just don't care.
Yeah. I mean, it's big news, but it really shouldn't be. I think I called it on Good Morning San Diego. This is just something silly to be upset about.
For me personally, I think it's ridiculous that they're burning the shoes. I think if anything, give them away to somebody who actually needs those shoes. So.
I'm kind of indifferent about this. I see what Nike was trying to do. Obviously, they've had him on retainer since 2011. He was still in the league then, but he hadn't played the last couple of seasons. They've kept him on for this. They know exactly what they're doing. I think in the long run, it's going to be a good move. I'm with you. Why burn something that you've already bought? Nike already has your money.
Yeah.
If you go out in your backyard and burn all your shoes, they don't care.
And look, there are people out there who has no shoes and they live on bridges and soup kitchen. Give that to them. Don't be selfish about this. Actually give it to somebody who's going to be able to use that.
Right.
And if you're that adamant about it, that's fine. This is America. You have the right to do that. Just don't ever buy any more Nike stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and let me tell you, NFL and NBA, most of them are sponsored by Nike. So if you buy anything with it, it's gonna be sponsored by Nike some kind of way.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. By the way, including Richmond Raider gear.
That's fine.
Nobody's really talking about that. The fact that Nike makes Richmond Raider gear. So if anybody out there is going to protest Nike, you're going to have to protest your Raiders, and I don't see that happening.
No.
So. And then finally, guys, we're going to end on a fun one. Joey Votto, the first baseman for the Cincinnati Reds, I had to get some baseball in there. He actually exchanged his jersey that he autographed for a shirt that a fan was wearing that he had actually been looking for. It was a commercial that he had done, and he never got a chance to get a T-shirt. He happened to see a guy wearing it, doesn't know how he got it. Middle of the game, asks him for his shirt off of his back, gives the kid an autographed jersey. Love it or hate it.
Love it.
I love that. That's awesome.
I love it too. Joey Votto.
Love it, but pay me some money for it.
Yeah. Joey Votto is one of the great characters of baseball. He doesn't get talked about a lot because Cincinnati's not very good, but he's all the time doing stuff like this. Sometimes he'll go over to first, catching the ball in foul territory, and if he's close to the stands, he'll take a nacho from him and eat it out of the stands. Stuff like that, which is good for any sport, especially for baseball. Well, guys, another one in the books. It's been another fun episode of the RO Sports Show. As always, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. We're going to come back and do it all again next week. Talk about Raider football, college football, NFL, whatever else we get into during the week.
Maybe some more controversy.
Yeah, hopefully.
That part.
Talk about that UNC victory up in Greenville.
Oh, go Pirates.
Go Pirates.
All right, guys. Well, for Russell Parker on the end there, Jeremy McKenzie in the middle, I'm Matt Harrelson. We appreciate everybody for watching and listening. So many ways to do it. It's all free. We'll see everybody right back here at 5:30 next Thursday. Have a wonderful week.